ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतां पदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्ते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी शभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमोस्तुते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रे येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपरिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतादुहे नमः। We are studying chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. In the last class, we discussed about the process of remembering Krishna and how does an Ashtanga yogi do that using Sat Chakra Yoga system. However, that system is not very easy, and therefore Krishna says in verse 14 of this chapter that there is an easier way of doing that. Sulabha. Sulabha means easy. And what is that? Ananya Chaitaha, by unalloyed devotion or remembrance of Krishna. So let's look at these verses 14 to 16. Remembering Krishna by pure devotional service. Fine. By the way, I never ever since the inception of Bhakti-sastri course, Gita-sastri course, asked this question or took a feedback from the students. I took a feedback for many different things, but I never took a feedback for this thing. How do you like the presentations, the PowerPoints? They're helpful. The PDFs that we provide you, the chapter PDFs. I never asked a feedback for that. Yes. Okay, fine. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you. So, verse number 14. Ananya chetaha satatang yomang smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginaha. Krishna is saying, for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, a son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So, see, the key is here, constant engagement in devotional service. Krishna is kind of assuring us that if you do this, which is constant engagement in devotional service, then it becomes very easy to remember Krishna at the time of death or attain Krishna, right? Mhm. That's the message. And based on that message, we can very confidently say if Srila Prabhupada had designed the process of devotional service in iskcon, then it is quite perfect to get to that goal, right? Constant engagement. That's what Krishna is saying here. And Prabhupada also always mentioned this, whether you are a brahmachari or a grihastha, man or a woman, you should try to be Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. Constant engagement in devotional service, right? Purport. Uh, this verse specially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of God in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned four different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: karma yoga, jnana yoga, and hatha yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha, as indicated by the word ananyachetaha. In pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahma Jyoti, or salvation, or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a Jnana Yogi, Karma Yogi, or Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interests, a perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to Him, He is easy to obtain, right? Let's read the next paragraph. Someone volunteer, Rupanshi Mataji. Just read the next paragraph.
The special, oh, sorry, a pure a pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various planetary expansions and incarnations such as Ram and Narsinga, and the devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, he is especially inclined toward those who always serve him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in the Vedas, Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, Yam ivesa vrunate tena labhasya, tasyesa atma vivrunte tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. And as stated in Bhagavad-gita 10.10, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, the Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advait who told Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan, as indicated by the word Satatam and Nityasa, which means always, regularly, or every day. A pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are the qualifications of a pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogas are engaged in 5 different ways. Sant Bhakt engage in devotional service in neutrality. Dasya Bhakt engage in devotional service as servant. Sakhya Bhakt engage as friends. Vatsalya Bhakt engage as parent. Madhurya Bhakt engage as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment. And similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is a great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So this is one place where in Bhagavad Gita, first time Krishna mentions pure devotional service. Ananyaha, using the word Ananya. Okay. Before that, he did not mention pure devotional service.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I have a doubt, Prabhu. Prabhu, in the first paragraph, it is showing Jnana Yogi and Karma Yogi or Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interest. Karma Yogi is different from Hatha Yogi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Hatha Yoga, see, like for example, Karma Yoga is there, correct? But then there is another form of Karma Yoga, which is a mixture of Karma Yoga and little Ashtanga Yoga and little Bhakti Yoga, which means it's a concocted thing, which is also known as Kriya Yoga. So you'll see some societies who will say we believe in Kriya Yoga. Okay. Similarly, there is Ashtanga Yoga given in Bhagavad Gita, but then that Ashtanga Yoga is promoted in its different versions by the name Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, like that. Fine. So though Krishna has mentioned only 4 types of yoga systems in Bhagavad Gita, people have come up with many versions of that, with some addition, some subtraction. And then because it's a new product, you can say in one sense. So then they give a new name to it.
And we already discussed in third chapter, Nishkama Karma Yogi is also a Bhakti Yogi, correct, Prabhu?
Again, try to understand. One can be a Nishkam Karma Yogi without being involved in devotional service as well. Bhakti Yogi means specifically having knowledge of Bhagavan and then engaging in devotional service to him. But let's say one does not know Bhagavan, one only knows Brahma Jyoti, or one only knows Paramatma. And at the same time, that person has a Nishkam spirit of doing his or her work and is also dedicating the results of one's hard work to the Supreme Absolute Truth, whom he or she understands as Brahma Jyoti or Paramatma. So in that case, then that Nishkam Karma Yoga is not Bhakti Yoga.
Okay.
Fine. So there can be Nishkam Karma Yoga without complete presence of Bhakti. But because in Bhagavad-gita as it is, Srila Prabhupada did not want to boggle the mind of people with so much of technicality. He kept it very simple. You know, he kept it very simple, bringing everyone to this conclusion that everything is Bhakti.
Okay.
But in detail, if you want to understand or study, it's not. Okay. All right.
Hey, Krishna, I want to ask one question.
Mhm.
Krishna,
Yes, we will.
Guruji, here Prabhupada mentioned that Bhakti Yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. But at the same time, we heard that to perform Bhakti Yoga is like walking on the sharp razor. So could you please explain how we can take it?
So the verse which you are quoting, that walking on Bhakti Yoga is like walking on a sharp razor. That is a general verse taken from Upanishad, that taking to spiritual life is something like that. It's not about bhakti. It's about practicing spiritual life, right?
Okay.
It's not just about bhakti. Because on bhakti path, well, there's so much of scope of rectifying yourself, which is not on other paths. Mm. So in that way, that is applicable to all the yoga systems, the verse which you are quoting, walking on a razor's edge, not for bhakti alone.
Guruji here mentioned that easy to perform.
Easy to perform compared to other yoga systems.
Okay.
It's easy to perform compared to other yoga systems. But then in its own, it's difficult. When you compare it with other processes, it's easier. In its own, it's difficult.
Okay, Guruji. Thank you.
Hmm. Okay, next verse. माम उपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं paramangatah. Translation. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Mamupitya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Krishna qualifies this material creation or world with two qualities. One is dukkhalayam and the other one is ashashvatam. Right? So dukkhalayam means it's an abode of miseries, full of miseries. So someone may say, don't worry, we'll learn to adjust with it. Right? Like many times people say, life is full of problems. It's okay. It's fine. We have understood it and we have accepted it like that. So don't worry, we can learn to adjust to it. So then Krishna says, don't worry, there's another problem. Ashashvatam. Even the troubles keep changing. So you learn to adjust with one problem, another problem comes. You learn to adjust with that problem, then another problem comes. You learn to adjust with that problem, then another problem comes. So it is full of miseries, and those miseries also keep on changing. So you can't even adjust to miseries, right? So you cannot even say, I'm peacefully suffering in this material world. Let's say someone may say, I'm peacefully suffering, but that peacefully suffering is also not possible. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Keep on changing. See, uh, purport. Nagarajan told.
Hare Krishna. Purport. Since this temporary material world is full of the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, he who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, Golaka Vrindavana, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as Avyakta and Akshara and Paramagati. In other words, the planet is beyond our material vision and it is inexplicable, but it is the highest goal, the destination for the Mahatmas, great souls. The Mahatmas receive transcendental message from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentions the personalist devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. These devotees in Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are the supreme souls. Hare Krishna.
A question may come up. People may say that Krishna is our father and he wishes us well. Then how has he created a world that is full of miseries? If he really loves his children, then should he not build them a house which is full of happiness? How will you answer that?
Is it just to reform or correct the living entities who had undue desire so that they come to their constitutional position and come back to him?
Hare Krishna. Yes, and what next? A prison is never meant for suffering, it is meant for rectification, correct? Misuse is the cause of suffering. And created misery so that we can come to him. What else?
It's a purification process.
Purification process.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Had God created a world full of happiness, we would never even long to go back to our real home, Golok Vrindavan, as God wants us all to come back to our original home. So He created this world full of miseries.
All right, thank you. Fine. So yes, that is true in one sense. Krishna did that because he wants us back and he wants us to rectify ourselves, our mentality, our conditioning should be removed. We should get purified. But at the same time, we should know one thing, that the material world is full of suffering because of our own approach in living in this material world. We all here in this material world want to be the center of everything. And that's the competition between each living entity, right? That's what every living entity is trying to do, to become the center of the universe. And if such kind of competition is there between the individual living entities, how will there be complete happiness for any living entity? Because that tug of war, that push and pull will always be there, right? Isn't it? So it has become dukkhalayam because of the approach the living entity is taking in living in this material world. Right? That's why it has become Dukkhalayam. It would not be Dukkhalayam otherwise. Therefore, for pure devotees of Krishna, material world is not Dukkhalayam. For pure devotees of Krishna, it is Vaikuntha in one sense. Right? For those of pure devotees of Krishna, for them it is Vaikuntha. Because anyway they get to serve Krishna, it's Vaikuntha for them. But for those who are not pure devotees, it's Dukkhalayam. Because everyone here, and let me tell you, everyone means we all also. Sometimes we come to Krishna consciousness, we start thinking, now I become quite pure, I'm very nice, I'm such a good devotee, right? I don't have any material desires. I'm done with material desires. But that's not the reality. No. Even after coming to Krishna consciousness, we still have that false ego of thinking that I am the center of everything. So as long as that ego is there, this material world is going to be a dukkhalaya. Right? So the nature of the material world that it's dukkhalaya is because of the collective consciousness of the living entities who are living in this material world. If the material world will become full of pure devotees of Krishna, the material world will also become Sukhalaya, Vaikuntha. Right? So that's the main reason. Now, how is it a Dukkhalaya? Krishna explains that in the next verse. Abrahma bhuvana lokaha punaravartino arjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. So Krishna is telling here about two situations. One is, first is that material world is being explained. It's a place full of problems, suffering, misery. And the other part, the second half, Mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. That is explanation about the spiritual world. So then, keeping this verse as a base, Krishna is going to explain in next 3 verses the material world, and the next 3 verses the spiritual world. Okay, so this is verse number 16, 17, 18, 19 talk about material creation, 20, 21, 22 talk about spiritual world, the nature of them, and then there's a contrast, there's a comparison. Fine. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Shridi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. All kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmalok, Chandralok, and Indralok fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice, called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmalok. But if on Brahmalok one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Baladev Vidyabhushan, in his commentary on the Bhagavad-gita, quotes this verse: Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte pratisanchare parasyante kritatmanaha pravishanti parampadam. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji, one small clarification.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
This 2.14, these bhakti yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Shanta Bhakta engaged in devotional service in neutrality. What does mean? Devotional service in neutrality.
Neutrality again means passiveness, passive state.
Oh.
Passive. Mhm.
Neutrality means out of the two things, he is not concerned with any. What are these two things? He is not concerned. He is remaining neutral, neither with this nor with that.
No, please don't go with always, the literal meaning.
Okay.
Srila Prabhupada, because he is not able to translate the Sanskrit words exactly into English, because such English words don't exist, he uses the closest word. All right.
Okay. Means he is
Fine.
not attracted to anything. He is in a passive state in bhakti. That is what.
Again, please don't concoct. He is not attracted to anything. How can you say? If he's a devotee, how is he not attracted to anything? If he's a devotee, he is attracted to Krishna. Right?
No, I meant material things.
Then that goes without saying, no?
Okay.
If someone is a pure devotee, why will he be attracted to material things? So here, neutrality basically means that he is not actively involved in serving Krishna in that sense. When we are studying some words in Prabhupada's books, those words, if they are translations of specific Sanskrit words, don't go by the literal meaning of that word as per English dictionary.
Okay.
Right? Because English dictionary word meaning will be different and original Sanskrit will be different. So what is the Sanskrit for this word? Whether you say neutrality, whether you say passive, what is the Sanskrit word for it?
Shant.
Shanta. Now, Shanta, does it actually mean neutral?
No.
The Shanta can mean so many things. Right?
Yes.
Shanta can mean peaceful also, correct?
Yes, he is not unduly agitated by anything.
That is also Shanta, correct? Peaceful also.
Correct.
So now when you translate this, let's say you are translating Prabhupada's, you are translating Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and you have to translate the word Shanta Rasa in English. How will you translate?
Yes. Peaceful will
Peaceful
be more
Rasa.
appropriate. Yes.
Peaceful
No.
Rasa.
Rasa will, but the corresponding word can be peaceful. Yes.
So then how will you translate peaceful Rasa? Correct?
Yes.
Now, when you study peaceful Rasa, what can be the meaning of it? Peaceful Rasa? What is peaceful Rasa?
This is not
If I go by the English meaning, then it doesn't make any sense. Peaceful Rasa?
correct. Understood.
Right? But when you look at the original Sanskrit, Shanta, then you can understand what Shanta basically means here is there is no active involvement in serving Krishna. Shanta in that sense.
Okay.
Passive, neutral. Okay.
Fine. Thank you.
Next verse. So 17 to 22, these 6 verses compare the material and spiritual worlds. Material world. We'll read the verses. 17. Sahasra yukparyantam aharyad brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Right? Why Brahma's life is being explained here? Krishna just wants to tell us that though Brahma lives for such a long age, still his life is full of miseries. So even if you get to the highest position in the material world, you cannot be happy completely, right? So Prabhupada explains in this purport the life of Brahma, how long it is. Swati goes.
Hare Krishna. The duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycle of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of thousand cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by the virtue, wisdom, and religion. There being practically no ignorance and vice, and the yuga lasts for 17,28,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts for 12,96,000 years. In the Dwapar Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts for 8,64 years. And finally, the Kali Yuga, the yuga we have now been experiencing over the last 5 years. There is an abundance of strife, ignorance, religion, and vice. True virtue being practically non-existent, and this yuga lasts 4,32,000 years. In Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki Avatara, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satyuga. Then the process is still rolling again. These 4 yugas rotating 1,000 times comprise one day of Brahma, and the same number comprises one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years by the earth calculation total to 311 trillion and 40 billion earth years. By this calculation, the life of the Brahma seems fantastic and interminable. But from the viewpoint of the entity, it is as brief as the lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles. In the Atlantic, Brahma and his creations are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmaloka, which is the highest planet in the material universe and which supervises all the heavenly planets in the upper spectra of the planetary system. But in due course, the Brahma and all the inhabitants of the Brahmaloka are subjected to death according to the law of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada gave us the calculation of Brahma's life. Somewhere else I'll show you this calculation when we study Ishopanishad that time. And so this is called relativity of time, actually. That time, it moves at different speed at different places in the creation, right? Srimad Bhagavatam gives a very beautiful explanation of that. Just like, when you look at a clock. So in the clock itself, there are 3 hands or 3 needles, and they move at different speed. Correct? The hour needle, the minute needle, and the second needle. Isn't it? Similarly, at different places in the universe, time moves at a different speed. So as we go upward, time becomes what? Slower or faster? Slow. As we go up, time becomes fast, right? As we go down, time becomes slow. Therefore, Brahma's 100 years, for him it is only 100 years. For us, it is trillions of years. Right. So as you go down slower, as you go upward, time moves faster. Fine. So this is called relativity of time. You know this pastime, this story, which illustrates relativity of time. There are many such instances in the scripture. Maharaj Indradyumna in Jagannath Leela, there we come to know about relativity of time. Correct, isn't it? Then Maharaj Khatwanga, there we come to know about relativity of time, isn't it? Then any other pastime you remember where there's relativity of time?
Krishna's passing. Brahmaji took the covered boys to Brahma.
Okay, Brahma took the coward boys. Yes, there also you come to know about relativity of time.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, the father of Revati, who was looking for
Correct.
a groom.
Correct. There also, right? So Revati's father, Kakudmi, took his daughter to Brahma in Brahmaloka and inquired about a husband for her. So when Kakudmi arrived there, Lord Brahma was engaged in hearing some musical performances by the Gandharvas. And he did not had a moment to talk with him. So Kakudmi waited. And at the end of the performance, he offered his obeisances to Lord Brahma and then, put forward his desire, long-standing desire. After hearing his words, Lord Brahma, who is most powerful, laughed out loudly and said to Kakudmi, all the kings whose names you mentioned, such a long list you brought, none of them exist anymore, right? They're all gone. Now, generations and generations have passed. How much time had passed? The amount of period for which Kakudmi stayed in Brahmaloka was just 19 minutes, 26.4 seconds. How much? 19 minutes, 26.4 seconds for Brahma. It's not long. That's not a long waiting period. But on planet Earth, how many yugas had passed? 27 Chatur yugas. 27 Chatur yugas had gone. Right? And Brahma said, come on, they are all dead now. So then he was so tensed. He said, now who will marry my daughter? So I said, don't worry, you go down. Balramji has descended. He will marry. So when Kakudmi came down, Revati was still very tall and Balramji was short. So you know that pastime. So Kakudmi offered Revati to Balram and Balram took his plow and he put it around the neck of Revati and made her same size as him, right? And pulled her down to his size, right? And that's how they became a good match. So this pastime shows relativity of time, isn't it? Okay. And then I always give this, I don't know if we don't have time today, but you can do it later. I always give this exercise to devotees, students. It's an interesting exercise. I mean, it's a fun. You can say some Vedic fun. That if I ask you to find out, if let's say we assume that Brahmaji is wearing a smartwatch, okay, and for Brahma's day, the sunrise happens at 6 a.m. Okay, for Brahma's day, the sunrise happens at 6 a.m. and he's wearing a smartwatch. What will be the exact time on his watch at this moment? At this moment, what will be the exact time on his watch? If you are asked a question like that. So,
6 a.m. Prabhuji. 6
huh?
a.m.
6
6
a.m.
a.m.
6 a.m.
Yeah, there will be no change because it's just a fraction of second for him.
No, I'm not talking about our sunrise. I'm talking about Brahma's. It is Brahma's. Let's say we are talking about this present day of Brahma, not my present day, not planet Earth's present day, Brahma's present day. Fine. And on his present day, the sunrise happened at 6 a.m. So at this moment, what is the time on his watch? Will you be able to find it out if I give you this exercise? It's not very difficult, just based on the information given by Srila Prabhupada in the purport we just read now, and with little extra knowledge if we have. You can find out exactly the hours, the minutes, and the seconds on Brahma's watch now, at this moment. So you can try doing this exercise if you like. All right. Or should I just show the answer to you?
Show the answer.
Show the
Prabhuji,
answer.
give us some time. Actually, yeah.
All right, let me show the answer and you can try it on your own
Okay.
later. Just, out of curiosity, if you can find the answer. So at this moment, Brahma's watch is showing this time, 11 a.m., 28 minutes, 39.61 seconds. And now this 61 seconds, maybe 6.2, 6.4, 6.8. I mean, sorry, something like that based on, because I made this slide maybe 1 year ago. So some little change will be there, but you can calculate. Fine. You can find. In that way, if you see, our Vedic scriptures give us so much of precise information. Even the scientists cannot calculate this information, right? What is Brahma's time on the watch, on his watch? Even scientists cannot tell that. But based on the knowledge from the Vedas, you can even tell that. And this is the time on his watch. Still, his noon has not yet come. All right. So you can find out how to do this. Next verse. अव्यक्ताद्व्यक्तयः सर्वः प्रभवन्ति अहरागमे रात्रि आगमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैवा व्यक्तसंज्ञके. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. So again and again creation happens, right? Annihilation happens. Bhutagramah saevayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratriyagame vashah partha prabhavati ahar agame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Let's read the purport. Divya Kamlapati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandavat Pranam. The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets and then again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world. But at the coming of the Brahma's night, they all are annihilated. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities, and at night, they no longer have their bodies but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again, they are manifested at the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhutva Bhutva Praliyati. During the day, they become manifest, and at the night, they are alienated again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they all are annihilated and remain unmanifested for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born again in another millennium, they are again manifested. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus they transfer themselves, even in this life, to the spiritual planet of Krishna and become eternally blissful there, not being subject to such rebirths. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
And that, sorry. So here's a question which came up in my mind once. So I'm putting it in front of you. We just read that even for Brahma, there is destruction at the end of his day. And again in the morning, when he gets up, he has to create. Correct? So why Brahma has to go through this ordeal of repeated creation and destruction? Why?
Because he is in the material world, Brahmalok is also considered material world. So when he is material world, then ups and downs, three more somewhere he has influence of that.
What else? What could be the reason?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, could it be like that Krishna wants to show the entire world or Brahmand that even Brahma who is creating the world has to undergo repeated birth and death?
Brahma is not going through repeated birth and death. Brahma is just creating every day in the morning. Why? So that even for Brahma, it's not easy in material world. Right? At the end of his life, he should also get frustrated. Krishna is not leaving any scope for anyone, whether you're Brahma or anyone. Krishna is not leaving any scope. He will also get frustrated, right? Whole day you create, you maintain, you look after something, at night it gets destroyed. Next day morning you get up, again you start creating, then it gets destroyed, then again you start creating. So one day you will also get frustrated, right? Isn't it? That's why it's tough then for him also to continue to aspire and again become Brahma. Once he becomes Brahma, then he doesn't want to become Brahma again.
Prabhuji, basically frustration is when we have desires and desires are not fulfilled, we get frustrated. So does Brahma also has some desires don't get fulfilled?
You only get frustrated when your desires don't get fulfilled. If you like something in this world, if I take it away from you, right, then again you'll not get frustrated.
No, we will, of course, because we are attached to that thing. That thing is gone from.
For example, okay, let me give you an example. You gave Bhakti-sastri exam this time?
Yes.
Yeah. So you gave Bhakti-sastri exam, and after you submitted your paper, I lose it. You also lose it. I tell you, Prabhu, give exam again. You submit it again. I lose it again. You lose it again. Then I tell you, give it for the third time. If you submit it again, I lose it. You lose it again. And if this happens 1,000 times, will you give exam again?
No, I get frustrated.
So same thing with Brahma. No?
Yes.
Same thing with Brahma. Every day is creating. He's using so much of his intelligence. Every day is creating. And the night destruction happens. Every day he creates. So how many times he will create then? In 1 year, 360 days, 100 years, 360 multiplied by 100 means 36,000 times he has created.
Marginal utility goes to minus, so he gets frustrated.
Gets frustrated. That's the problem. All right. So that's what you repeatedly do the same thing, and because one thing we need to know, being spirit soul, we have a desire for making everything permanent. And the nature of this world is it will not let it happen. So naturally there will be frustration.
Correct.
Right? Therefore, we understand one thing from the nature of this universe, that it's a school of love. Srila Bhakti Swami Maharaj used to say like that Krishna made this universe in such a way that it's a school of love. We have come here to learn to purely love, right? Krishna and Krishna's devotees, right? It's a school of love. If we have not learned this lesson, then our life is a waste, right? This universe is a school. Students are the living entities. The teachers are the acharyas. The books are the revealed scriptures. And the lesson that has to be learned is pure love. Mhm. Spiritual world.
Prabhuji, here this is the school where most of the students in general at the initial stage they fail only. They don't develop love.
Yeah, you can say it's a school with, I mean, long preparation time. It takes millions of lifetimes for people to come to that realization. Long time. Next verse. Parasa tasmatu bhavanyo vyaktu vyaktat sanatanaha yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Right? Why it remains as it is? Because it is made up of the transcendental energy of the Lord. So if anything is made up of transcendental energy of the Lord, even if that is within the space of material creation, that will also remain as it is. Therefore, we come to know from Puranas, Vrindavan Dham doesn't get destroyed when there is annihilation. Jagannath Puri does not get destroyed. Mayapur does not get destroyed. Right? The holy dhams do not get destroyed. Why? Though they are in the material space, they are made up of transcendental energy. Right? They don't get destroyed. Avyaktakshara ityuktas paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. That which the Vedantas describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which having attained it one never returns, that is my supreme abode. Again, similar explanation by Krishna, just to give us a contrast, the difference between material and spiritual. All right, next verse. Purushaha sapar parah partha bhaktya labhyastu ananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading, and everything is situated within him. Again, you notice the word indicating pure devotional service here, Ananya, right? The same word came in 14, the same is coming here. Purusha sa parapartha bhaktya labhyastu ananyas. By unalloyed devotional service, one can attain that Supreme Lord, Purusha, by bhakti. Fine. All right. So any questions so far before we go to the next section of the chapter? Also, last time when I was doing Bhakti-sastri, every time I used to send a reminder, maybe on Monday or Tuesday, that next week, what verses you need to read and come. But this time I'm not doing that because I already, in the beginning of the month, send you a schedule of the entire month, that on this day, this will be the class and these will be the verses, right? Isn't it? You notice that, isn't it? So I hope you read the verses before you come to the class. That goes without saying. If you read it, then if you have questions, you can ask. That's the point. Yes, someone's question is there. As Mataji told, Krishna gave us suffering because in a world of full happiness, we won't remember Krishna. Isn't this being selfish? I mean, you are trying to ask if doesn't it mean that Krishna is selfish? That Krishna created such a forced situation for us. Yes. What is meant by selfishness? What is the definition of being selfish?
Only fulfilling your interests, self-interest.
Thinking about your own self, right? That's called selfishness. Fine.
Mamaka.
Means just thinking about your own happiness, isn't it? Correct. So if Krishna is inviting you to spiritual world, is he thinking about his own happiness? If yes, then he's selfish. But by giving you an invitation to come to spiritual world, he's giving you an opportunity to experience maximum happiness that you can ever. So that is not selfishness, right? It's not that he's inviting us to Golok Dham to make us a slave of him in Golok Dham. That's not the point. He's inviting us to Golok Dham to help us experience the highest happiness that we can experience. So how do you call it selfishness? It's not selfishness. In fact, the amount of joy that a devotee experiences in serving Krishna is much more than the joy Krishna experiences in taking service from the devotee. Right? Therefore, it's not selfishness. It appears like that. It's not. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Rangat Pranam. Prabhuji, in verse 16 and 17, in 16, at the last paragraph, Prabhupada has mentioned, when there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotee, who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness, are all transferred to the spiritual universe. But in this verse 17, Prabhupada has mentioned that in thousand ocean there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic Ocean. So in these two paragraphs, there is some contrast, Prabhuji. Here in verse 16, which Brahmas is talking about, and here 17 verse, Prabhupada is talking like Brahma also destroyed. How to understand this, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
What exactly you are trying to understand?
Prabhuji, it means that he here in this verse, Brahma get this what, transferred to the spiritual world. But here Brahma is destroyed in verse 17. Get destroyed. So there are different Brahma and
Verse 17. Verse 17, Brahma is getting destroyed. Let us open verse 17.
Prabhuji, first paragraph, last
The
sentence.
duration, okay. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe and therefore they are in constant flux. This last line?
Yes, Prabhuji, last paragraph, last sentence. Yeah,
Okay,
last
last.
paragraph.
Okay, in due course, Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahma Loka are subject to death, according to law of material nature. Okay. So, Mataji, in the previous verse, Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that Brahma, after his life gets over, he goes to the spiritual world. Correct? Right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
In this verse, it's mentioned that in due course, Brahma is subject to death. So death will anyway happen, even if you go to spiritual world, or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So what is the confusion? Death will anyway happen, even if you go to spiritual world, death will be there. What is the confusion?
Prabhuji, then again, Brahma take birth for the creation.
Okay, now fine. So you see, Brahma is a jiva, is a living entity. See, if Brahma does not perform devotional service and does not become a pure devotee, then he will have to take birth again. But if he performs devotional service, he will go back and back to Godhead. In the previous purport, did Prabhupada mention that every Brahma will go to Golok or go to spiritual world at the time of his death? No. He's just quoting a verse telling that if Brahma goes to spiritual world, he'll go in this way. Right? When we are studying the translation, we are studying the purport, we should know that here this is not a storybook, that this particular line in the previous verse is connected exactly to the next line in the next verse. Purport means it's an explanation, right? So if you are finding connections between statements, find between the translation of one verse and the translation of the next verse. Don't find connection between this statement in the purport and another statement in the next purport. Purport means it's just an explanation of that particular verse. So Prabhupada is quoting a verse in 8.16 at the end, just telling us, giving us an information that if Brahma goes to the spiritual world, this is how he will go to the spiritual world. He is not saying that every Brahma will go to the spiritual world. That is not mentioning. And in the next verse, he's talking about general thing which happens to any Brahma. If that Brahma is not perfect in Krishna consciousness, then Brahma has to take birth again. Right? So when we are reading, let's read very carefully, properly. Otherwise, we'll just misunderstand in so many ways. It's not a storybook that one line is exactly then related to the next line, and then you compare why Prabhupada is writing like this here, why writing like that. One purport is an explanation of that verse, that context, that particular scenario, subject, right? So understand it in that way. The next verse you go, the purport to that verse is for that verse. Isn't it? Okay. Any other
Yes,
question?
Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one more thing. Prabhuji, here all Brahma are carrying the order of Lord and engaged in
All
creation.
Brahmas are carrying the order of the Lord, but all Brahmas are not pure devotees of Krishna. They are carrying the order of the Lord, but they are not all pure devotees of Krishna. Just like all other demigods are also carrying the orders of the Lord, but they are also not pure devotees of Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very Krishna. Gunagrahi Gaurang Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the purport of text, verse number 15, at the end paragraph, Prabhupada is mentioning that the devotees who are in highest perfection of life, they are also known as supreme souls. Right?
Supreme souls in the sense Mahatma, great souls. Not that they are the supreme souls in the way they are supreme personality of God.
Okay.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Fine. Aryan Prabhu.
Prabhuji, it was actually for reading.
Uma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
You can.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In text 16, there is a phrase that says that those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation or transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Can you explain further on this? Because if someone is practicing Krishna consciousness, I get the impression that that person may, if he is if he is sincere and like, for example, sannyasis, they are very sincere. They will not go to higher planets. They can go directly to Krishna Loka. So why he is saying that we are going to higher and higher planets?
Prabhupada is talking about one form of liberation where the living entity, because he is not practicing pure devotional service, so he gets promotion to higher planets for a higher quality of material enjoyment. And because he's also a devotee, he's having a mixture of both material enjoyment and practicing devotional service. So that devotee goes step by step, higher and higher, one planetary system to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to Brahmalokam, then to spiritual world. And that's one way, right? So that's what he's explaining there. But that's not the only way. The other way is, in this one life, you completely practice pure devotional service and you directly go to the spiritual world.
You mean, Prabhu, can I understand it like this, that people who are not doing bhakti yoga, they are practicing other yoga, it is referred to them also, this phrase?
They have to do bhakti yoga in some form. It has to be mixture of both.
Okay.
Mixture of bhakti and jnana, bhakti and ashtanga, bhakti and karma, like that.
Some element of both.
So then they go upwards.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu, thank you. Works.
All right. Next. Next section. Supremacy of devotion in attaining the Supreme. So how by devotional service one easily attains the Supreme Lord. Right. Yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chaiva yoginaha prayata yanti tankalam vakshyami bharatarshava. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. Again, Krishna is giving us a comparison of the path of yoga and bhakti, that how they both do attain the supreme destination, but the way they attain is not the same. For those who are on the path of yoga, meaning Ashtanga yoga, or you can say Jnana yoga, it's important what time they leave the body. That's an important factor. So that is being explained here first. Purport. Simeshwar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. The unallied devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are totally surrendered soul, do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method. They leave everything in Krishna's hand and so easily and happily return to Godhead. But those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such method of spiritual realization as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga must leave the body at a suitable time and thereby be assured whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and situation for leaving this material world. But if he is not so expert, his success depends on his accidentally passing away at a certain suitable time. The suitable time at which one passes away and does not come back are explained by the Lord in the next verse. According to Acharya Baladev Vidyabhushan, the Sanskrit word Kala used herein refer to the presiding deity of time. Hare Krishna.
Next verse. Agni Jyoti Aha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vidojanaha. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry. Let's read the purport. Aryan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Danat Pranam. When fire, light, day, and the fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it is so to be understood that over all of them there are various presiding deities who make arrangements for the passage of the soul. At the time of death, the mind carries one on the path to a new life. If one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it is possible for him to attain the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Mystics who are advanced in yoga practice can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. If by accident they leave at an auspicious moment, then they will not return to the cycle of birth and death. But otherwise, there is every possibility that they will have to return. However, for the pure devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no fear of returning, whether he leaves the body at an auspicious or inauspicious moment, by accident or arrangement. Thank you.
So the explanation given by Baldev Vidyabhushan Prabhu regarding this concept is that whenever the soul moves from one location to another location, one body to another body at the time of death, it happens in the control of the higher authorities, right? The soul does not on its own independently move around. That freedom the soul does not have. To give you an example, if the soul has to go to Yamaloka, then the soul is carried by the Yamadutas. The soul doesn't alone travel to Yamaloka, right? Isn't it? Similarly, if the soul goes to heaven, there will be people coming from heaven to take the soul to heaven. If the soul has to go to Golok Vrindavan, there will be people coming from Golok Vrindavan to take the soul back to Golok Vrindavan. If the soul has to go to Vaikuntha, then Vishnu Dutas will come to take that soul back to Vaikuntha. The soul does not travel alone. So what Baldev Vidyabhushan is explaining here is that now this is something in one sense very complicated and technical. That when the soul leaves at a certain time period, and during that time period, there is the influence of a certain demigod. Fine. Then with the help of that demigod, the soul goes to the next destination. We already heard here, what are those timings? It's mentioned in the translation. During the influence of the fiery god, in the light, at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months known as Uttarayana. Right? Isn't it?
Hello, Guna.
Come on, please mute yourself, Sameshwar Prabhu. So here, Baldev Vidyabhushan Prabhu explains that light, when it's a light, there is a demigod behind light. When you say day, there is a demigod behind day. When you say waxing fortnight, the 15 days when the moon is becoming, full moon, there's a demigod behind that. Then there's 6 months to north, even that has a demigod behind it. Year, there's a demigod behind year. Air, there's a demigod behind air. Similarly, sun, moon, lightning, water, Indra, and then Brahma. So what will happen to a yogi who has to, uh, ascend, go upward? How will he go? These 12 demigods will help him in his journey. And finally take him to Brahmaloka. Understanding? It's just like, you're moving from, let's say, India to United States, and you have to change 3 flights. So one flight will take you from, let's say, Mumbai to Dubai, and then you change the flight. And then another flight will take you from Dubai to, let's say, London. Then you change the flight. And the flight will take you from London to New York. Then you change the flight. Then another flight will take you from New York to San Francisco. In that way, you complete your journey from Mumbai to San Francisco. Similarly, these different demigods will help you to go from one to another region. And finally, coming to Brahmaloka. All right? That's how the yogi ascends or go upwards. All right. Now then there is the next path. Dhumo ratris tatha Krishna Shanmasha Dakshinayana Tatra Chandrama Sangjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back. So in that case, the journey is given by Vallavi Devotion in this way. The 8 demigods, 8 devatas, smoke, night, waning fortnight, 6 months to south, year, Pitriloka, ether, and moon. Fine. And after moon, where? After moon, where?
Yamaloka, please.
No, why Yamaloka? Shine Punya Martyalokam Vishanti. You go to moon?
Back
to planet.
to
Come
Earth.
back.
Back to Earth. You go to moon,
Right.
you stay for some time, finish your pious credits, back to Earth.
Back to Earth.
Yeah. Shine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. All right. So moon is the hill station, in one sense, you can say, in heaven. Moon is the place for enjoyment.
Probably moon is considered in the path of darkness as against the sun, which is considered in the path of light.
It is in the path of darkness, you can say.
Yes, that. Moon itself is not in darkness, but moon is in the path as a part of the path of darkness.
Why it's called darkness? Because it's going to bring you back to material life. And why is the other is called path of light? Because it's going to take you upwards. Fine.
Whether we leave our body in the path of light or path of darkness depends on our past karmas as well as our karmas in the present life.
Yeah. Yes. Just like when you are born, that depends on your past karma. Similarly, what time you leave your body, that depends on your karma. Unmute.
Yogis normally will pass through the path of light only.
Who? Yogis.
Yogis.
If they are
Because
successful. If they are successful.
Yes. It is not particularly the light path is meant for only those who have performed well in this life, and darkness is for those who have not performed well here, like
No,
Chandalas or Sudras.
there are multiple possibilities. A devotee can pass away in any time. path of light, path of dark, still the devotee is going back to Godhead. Fine.
In spite of the fact that he is going through the path of darkness.
Yeah, no problem. He will not go through the path of darkness, no. He will not go through that path. The moment is there, the timing is there, but he'll not go through that path. Right? So this is for whom? It's not that everyone goes through the path of light and path of darkness. What about those who go to hell? They don't take any of these paths. Isn't it? Those who are going to hell, they will not take any of these paths. So these two paths are for whom? For those who have done some form of yoga. Right? Because both of these paths are taking you upward. One path, after some time, drops you down again. But the other path keeps on taking you upward. So this is only for those who have done some form of yoga. Therefore, it's mentioned in the verse number 25, right? Krishna is explaining in verse number 24 or something like that, that the yogis take to one of these two paths. The yogis take to one of these two paths. It's not mentioned, right? Every living entity takes to one of these two paths.
Yes, he has used the word yogis in 2 shlokas.
Yeah, so yogis means there has to be some element of yoga present, right?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, in Mahabharata, Bhishma had also decided the time of his exit, right? And similarly,
Yeah,
in this
because
one,
Bhishma Pitamaha, though he was a pure devotee of Krishna, he wanted to teach the process of Ashtanga yoga or the process of yoga. That's why being a teacher of that, he wanted to set an example. If you want to leave your body and you want to make sure that you want to go back to spiritual abode, then you leave during Uttarayan. Right? So he waited for Uttarayan to come.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So just because he wanted to teach that. So this is a way, this is a mechanical way of going upwards. And it is for those who are doing Ashtanga yoga. A devotee practicing devotional service need not worry about the day, the time, the place when he or she leaves the body. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, that means if you don't do any yoga practices, then you can go by accident in any one of these paths.
No. How accidentally you'll go? If Yamadutas and come and take you to hell, how will you go? Before you go, if Yamadutas come and take you to hell, then the path is made open only when you are qualified for it.
Okay, good.
The path is there, but then it's not made open to everyone. Isn't it? The path is there.
It means, Prabhuji, 2 extremes are excluded. Pure devotees straight away to Krishna, and those who have not any bhakti, they will go straight away to hellish condition. And those who have done some bhakti, some mishran or mixed bhakti, these path is available to them.
How many paths are there? We don't know. Okay. Krishna is just talking about 2 paths here because it's dealing with a particular subject matter. We can't conclude that there are n number of paths. Nowhere in the scripture it is mentioned. Right? Krishna is just talking about 2 paths here based on a particular subject matter. On the path of yoga, for a yogi, there are these 2 ways. That's all. We are not discussing here universally how does the system of the journey of soul works. That's not the topic subject matter.
It means ultimately it is to establish the supremacy of bhakti over you.
Correct. Yes, that's the point. Just to explain to us how bhakti is again very simple compared to yoga systems, Krishna is giving this explanation. Right? Therefore, we should know, when you're studying Bhagavad-gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, don't take a side subtopic as the main topic and start getting too much into it. This is not the main topic, that how many paths are there and who will go by which path and all that. It's just a subtopic and a side topic to explain the main topic, which is devotional service. You getting it, Prabhuji? Yeah. So we are
Yes, yes.
understanding in that way. Go to moon and then fall back from there. So then generally who takes to these paths and who for whom this path is made available? For proper religious householders, Srinivasas, who have been very religious, dharmic, sinless, performing all the duties properly, uh, also engaging in a lot of social work and charity. They go to heaven through this path. Okay. Not everyone, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry. 8.26. Shukla Krishne gati hi Jagatah Shashvate Mate Ekaya Yati Anavrittim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back. But when one passes in darkness, he returns. Fine. Naite Sriti Parthajanan Yogi Muhyati Kaschana Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukta Bhavajuna. All the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna. They are never bewildered. Why they are not bewildered? Because it doesn't matter to them by which path, what time they go. They will therefore be always fixed in devotion. Understood? That's the main point. That's why Krishna brought up this topic. That for devotee, it doesn't matter. Okay, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, Shloka 26 meant for karmis, that is heaven. We can understand this way that the karmis, those who have done some pious activities but not bhakti, they pass through the path of darkness. Because yogis have done some
Please try
bhakti.
to understand. Bhakti is always there. Little amount of bhakti will always be there.
Okay.
You can't say zero bhakti, right? I already said this. Yoga means there has to be some bhakti, 0.1%, 0.2%, 1%. But because that is just so little, you don't call that as a bhakti yogi. But you can't say no bhakti at all. Like, for example, if there is a householder who is doing a yajna, in that yajna, he's offering oblations to Lord Vishnu. Is that not devotional service?
Bhakti.
It is
Yes.
not, right?
It
It
is.
is. Though it is very minute, but it is. So when you are saying karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, that yoga itself means that there is some element of bhakti, right? If it's only karma, then there's no need of putting the word yoga.
Correct. Then it becomes karma kanda, yes.
Only karma, then it's only karma. There's no yoga, right? So what was the subject? Explain. What was the verse initially? Krishna said, the yogis take to these two paths. He already mentioned the yogis take to these two paths. Isn't it? He did not say the karmi takes to this path. The yogis take to this path. Therefore, there has to be some element of devotion. Fine.
Understood.
If you are asking very technical questions, then you should also read very technically. Means very precisely, very exactly. Next verse, last. Vedeshu yaggeshu tapah suchaiva daneshu yat punya phalang pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidang viditva yogi param sthanam upeti chadyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So then, Krishna is simply concluding by this verse telling that all the benefits you get by performing different kinds of religious activities like studying the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, austerity, charity, all the benefits that such devotion, such religious activities give, you can get those all benefits by engaging in devotional service. Simply by performing devotional service, you get the benefit of all of that, and at the end, you reach the supreme eternal abode. So, the takeaway message is, after giving all the information in this chapter, he's come to the conclusion, accept Bhakti Yoga as the topmost. That's the point. Right? That's the point. Accept Bhakti Yoga as the topmost because it can give you the benefit of all other paths, and also it gives you the benefit of going to spiritual abode, spiritual world, in the easiest way, in the surest way. Fine. All right. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Tomorrow class in the morning, Prabhu?
Yes, tomorrow we'll do in the morning.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, just a slight this thing. I mean, I'll just take a minute. This 18.61, Prabhuji, when Lord Krishna is talking about Yantra Rudani Maya, so that he is actually guiding the soul in different bodies. Is that related to the devotees or non-devotees or yogis? Is it for
That's
all?
for everyone. That's for everyone.
Okay.
That verse is talking about how Paramatma helps a living entity move from one body to another body, and that's for everyone.
Okay.
Mhm. All right, next question.
Prabhu, you have you have asked for voting on the timings, right? From next, that is from when, Prabhu?
That's just for
Sunday
tomorrow.
time.
Only one day. Only tomorrow. Not that
Okay,
every
one day.
Sunday. It's just tomorrow. That's why.
Okay. So tomorrow what time, Prabhu?
We'll give in the morning, 7 to 9 a.m. India time.
Okay, great.
It's just for tomorrow. Not that every
Okay,
Sunday
great.
we will follow that change in
Okay.
timing. Just for tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. So, anyway, chapter 8 is over. Chapter 9, 10, 11, 12. They're not very long chapters. So this unit of Bhagavad-gita is not going to take as much time as the first unit of Bhagavad-gita, right? If you can understand that if you're giving exams, unit 2 will also complete by August end or September first week. Fine. So your exams will be around that time. You can be mentally prepared. That's the situation with this unit. It's a small unit. Chapters are small. All right. Okay. Fine. Hare Krishna.
I'm feeling we are going very fast, Prabhu.
We're not going very fast. We are going at the right street. You are getting 5 weeks off, 5 days off in a week. So you should utilize that time. Saturday, Sunday, only one class. 5 days are off. Use that time. Right? I already told in the beginning of the course, if you study every day, it's going to be easy. If you keep it for the last moment, it's going to be tough. If you study every day, Bhakti-sastri does not need much time. It doesn't require much time. What is the big deal? Even if you don't read and come to the class, in the class we are reading the entire book. Right or wrong? Almost we read every single purport. Some purports I skip, but we are reading all the purports. So even if you don't read, you don't take out extra reading time, we are doing the reading in the class. Fine. If you are a smart student, you can, before you come to the class, you can check from the handbook. Are there any questions for the closed book assessment from the particular section we are going to do today? Right? So if you find no questions, no problem at all. If you find one or two questions, even while you are reading the purport in the class, you can get the answers. Okay. So your answer finding for CBA CBA questions is not extra effort, much extra effort. Right. That's little extra effort. Then you have to just put it down in a notebook. Now your CBA is done. What is the extra thing? Memorizing those CBA answers, memorizing shlokas, writing essays. That's the only extra thing which you have to do. So for doing that extra thing, 5 days, the weekdays plus Saturday, Sunday, the extra time is a lot. It's a lot. If you plan it properly. That's the point. If you plan it properly. Otherwise, you see, there are Bhakti-sastri courses where their class is 5 days a week. You know that? There are Bhakti-sastri courses where their classes
Yes, yes,
5
yes.
days a week, Monday to Friday, evening 7 to 9 p.m.
Oh,
There are Bhakti-sastri courses like that.
okay.
So there, then how fast will the exams? You can imagine, isn't it? So based on that, it's a very slow course. Based on that, it's a very slow course where you have ample amount of time to complete it.
Okay. Okay. Unit 2
Yeah.
exam will be August last week or September first week?
September first week, something like that.
Prabhu?
So you,
Is it like that?
yeah, something like that. So you can, you be, you be on track with us as we are studying, then it's not difficult. Most of the students, what they do is, yes, the unit has started, let's wait for the end to come. Then when the exam date is released, 2 weeks before the exam, then you start doing the CBA, and then you start memorizing the shloka. Then you even first time open and look at the essay question. What is the essay question? So in then 2 weeks, you have everything to do. Then you feel panicked. Oh, I have only 2 weeks left. Now I have to do so much. Right? So then you get panicked. And then it becomes such a big headache. How will I pass the exam? How will I do it? So why do the same mistake which we did in school and college? At least after coming to Krishna consciousness, let's not do that mistake. Let's study before the exam, 2 days before the exam, 8 days before the exam. I allow you to do that mistake if you are that confident. That's okay. If you are that confident that I study 2 days before the exam that I'm going to pass, no problem. Do that mistake. It's okay. You know, I also did that mistake. When I did Bhakti Shastri, I studied 2 days before exam. Right? I never studied the whole month or the whole week, nothing like that. Just 2 days before exam study. So if you are that confident that you can do, you do that. No problem. But if you're not that confident, you will study from the day one. All right.
Yep.
That's the main. The thing is, you came into the course, complete the course on time. Sometimes, some devotees think, oh, I'm not able to do Bhakti Shastri nicely. I did not study nicely. I got only 36 out of 50. I wish I got 48 out of 50. That's irrelevant and that's immaterial. You join the course, you somehow they complete it. Even if you just pass it, even if you just score 65% and you just pass, at least complete the course. Because joining Bhakti Shastri is not with the purpose, I've joined Bhakti Shastri, let me become a master of Bhakti Shastri. 99.9. You can never do that. Anyone can never do that. We can never master this subject matter, even if you study 100 times. Right? So you have come to Bhakti Shastri, the purpose should be, I joined this course, let me just do it once. Let me complete it. Completing it doesn't mean my study is over. My study has ended. The study of Bhagavad-gita will always be there. The study of other books will always be there. But the point is, once you have joined it, keep your determination on and complete it. Don't drop it. Right? Some students will drop it thinking, oh, this time I'll get only 72. Let me drop. Next time I'll get 88, 90. So I'll do it again. No, if you're getting 72, fine, complete and be happy with 72. Right? That's the point. So you do. That's the point. And if you really get a taste of it, then you study again. What's the problem? You study again. What's the problem? All right. So if you are in it, you complete it. Don't skip it. Don't be out of it. That's how I see it. Nikunj Prabhu.
This
Hare
MCQ
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, one of you, huh? Gunagaya.
Yes, I was sharing one of my realization. This MCQ, the way you are providing us, is helping me a lot. I mean, whenever one chapter is getting over, so as I was able to complete the lecture and I was able to verify that how I am learning the things. I mean, on the time to do the MCQ, very helpful.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. You can say, you see, the quizzes are given to you for a quick assessment of yourself. You completed a chapter, you do a quiz, and then you immediately know how much did you understand from that chapter. Right? So it keeps you, if you are doing well, it keeps you motivated. If you're not doing it well, then it tells you exactly where you are. Are you studying properly? Are you understanding properly? So the quizzes are good in that sense that you did a chapter, you immediately do a quiz, you know, okay, did I understand properly? So that's very nice. Because CBA, let me tell you, the CBA are not for checking your understanding. CBA, how will I know your understanding from CBA? I've already given you the question, the answers are in the book, you just memorize and write down in the paper. That doesn't tell you your understanding. Your actual understanding comes from MCQ quizzes and essays. Right? CBA doesn't show your understanding. CBA is just memorization effort. That's all. But most of the devotees, they give maximum emphasis to CBAs. However, CBAs have least importance. Maximum importance should be given to essays. That will also add maximum to your score. Nikunj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My question is, since I had my office, I had a discussion with you as well. I've been preparing. I couldn't attend the CBA because I had my office and I was not even able to attend the classes. But now I'm going to be regular, so I'm preparing for the CBA. When should I be? Will August
Whenever,
1st?
whenever you can.
Okay, I'll try to do it as soon as possible. But just wanted to let you know that I'm preparing and I'll be done with my preparation and I'll get it done soon so that I can
Yeah,
catch up with all the
whenever
lot.
you can give the exam, give exam.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yes. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Now, again, I changed my approach. When I first time started Bhakti-sastri, I gave the students this freedom. You cannot complete this unit. Don't worry, you do it next year with our next batch. But then I found that though I gave so much of flexibility to the students, which no other institute gives, neither VIHE, nor Mayapur Institute, nor Bhagavad Mahavidyalaya, no one gives. Students did not complete Bhakti Shastri on time. And I had to do repeated follow-up. Please submit your essay. Please give the Shloka exam. Please do your CBA. So I found that it's waste of time and energy to give so much of flexibility to the student. Better be strict. Better be disciplined. So that's why I decided from this batch, no such flexibility. Right? No such flexibility. If the course is ending in April, the course is ending in April. Now, it's your problem how you complete the course by April. If you miss a CBA, I'll take it anytime. You give me a time. Prabhuji, this date, 2 a.m. in the morning, take my CBA, I'll take your CBA. Right? But you complete it on time when the last day of the course is before that. Anytime you complete it. No stretching it forward. Because it becomes such a big botheration. For Students, if it's difficult, let me explain you my situation. At present, active number of Bhakti Shastri students, 350. How many? 350. All right. For each unit, how many essays are submitted? 2 essays. How many essays I have to correct for each unit? 700 essays. That's not easy, right? So if you delay, then it becomes such a big pressure completing it. And after doing so much, then how can I do other new courses? Devotees keep on asking, Prabhuji, when is the next new course? What is the next new course? Right? What about the other classes on other days? That's not possible now. It becomes very difficult. And that's just essays. Then you have your closed book exams, that also has to be corrected. Then you have shloka exams, that also has to be corrected. So please try to understand, it's not easy. And therefore, this time I'm pressurizing the students. Do it on time, do it on time, do it on time. Okay? Getting it? Right? So please be a little serious. And in that way, we are very flexible. You tell us, Prabhuji, I have prepared my exam on September 2nd. You take my exam at 6 a.m. in the morning. I'll take your exam at 6 a.m. in the morning. No issues. You tell me I'll give shloka exam at 11 p.m. at night. I'll take your shloka exam at 11 p.m. at night. No issues. That all flexibility is there. But then this is difficult that I have to tell you again and again. Your shloka is pending, your CBA is pending, your OBA is pending, this is pending, that is pending. That's difficult. Okay. So little cooperation required. All right, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki